Revealed, the Sinister Nightshift at a haunted gas station with 7 terrifying rules for survival. Emily's heart raced as she pulled into the empty parking lot of the gas station. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows along the cracked pavement, and the wind whispered through the cornfields, sounding almost like someone calling her name. The rumors swirled in her mind like a tempest. 7 rules for survival echoed through her thoughts: never trust a stranger. Always lock the door. Keep your back to the wall. The hairs on her arms stood up as she recalled the tales of flickering lights and shadows that roamed the aisles, leaving dread in their wake. Shaking off the chill, she took a deep breath and stepped inside. The station smelled stale, a mix of old oil and faded coffee. Her instincts screamed at her to turn back, to protect Lily from the unknown lurking beyond this dim-lit sanctuary. But with bills piling up and stressful nights spent worrying about their future, this was the only job she could find. So she clocked in, her fingers trembling against the cold electronic pad. Minutes turned to hours, and the silence grew thick around her. The hum of the gas pump started to blend into her thoughts, a comforting drone that eased her anxieties for a moment, until the lights flickered violently, plunging her into darkness. A wave of panic shot through her. Just the old wiring, she whispered to herself as the quiet was interrupted by unsettling creaks echoing from the back room. Something wasn't right. Suddenly, headlights pierced the darkness as a car rolled into the parking lot. A bead of sweat trickled down her back as Emily peered out the window. The figure that emerged was wrapped in shadow, his features were obscured, but that gaze it pierced her heart. He moved slowly, deliberately, and Emily felt the first stirrings of real fear. The rules screamed in her mind as she locked the door the moment he stepped inside. "Fill her up, please," he said, his voice like gravel, sending shivers down her spine. She wanted to retreat, to hide. Every instinct told her danger loomed just inches away. But she stood frozen, caught between flight and necessity. Panic clawed at her throat as she reached for the gas pump, feeling exposed. As she filled the tank, the air shifted. She could feel it. The gas pump began to operate on its own, a cold mechanical whirring that sent horror spiraling through her veins. Whispering winds seemed to wrap around her, carrying words she couldn't quite make out, yet their meaning was clear: something was deeply amiss. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The eerie ambience thickened as the customer's eyes bored deeper into her. Time stood still, each second stretching into an eternity. Emily's heart thundered in her chest. A loud crash erupted from the back room, jolting her from the trance-like state. Emily, it was a voice, clear yet distorted. Was it a figment of her imagination? Emily. Again, the voice demanding, chilling, pulled her into the shadows, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. Clenching her fists, she moved toward the sound. With each step, terror licked at her heels, and she knew this gas station was more than just a place to fuel a car. It was a crucible that forced her to confront the darkness that lived not only in this haunted realm, but within her as well. The darkness swallowed Emily as she moved deeper into the gas station, her heart pounding like a drum echoing through a silent void. The soft crackle of static hung in the air, punctuated by a whisper that ramped up the fear within her. Each step felt heavier, almost as if the floor itself was trying to hold her down, urging her to turn back. Emily. The voice called again, wrapping around her like a cold shroud. It seemed to originate from the back room where the shadows coiled thickly, hiding unspeakable things. She hesitated, her instincts warring with a need to know. Had she really heard it? Or was it a trick of her mind playing on her nerves? She took a breath, her cold fingers brushing against the wall, searching for grounding. "I should go back, I should lock the doors," she muttered repeatedly, forcing herself to remember the rules. But her legs betrayed her, they carried her forward, deeper into the bowels of fear. The light flickered above her, buzzing erratically as if sensing her trepidation. The familiar hum of the gas pumps faded, replaced by a low, bone-chilling sound. It felt like a heartbeat, steady, ominous, drawing closer. Emily, the voice turned more insistent, no longer distorted, but with a familiarity that made her stomach drop. The back room's door creaked open, inviting her into the darkness. Emily peered through the opening, squinting her eyes to adjust. The room was cluttered with old newspapers, faded pictures clinging desperately to the walls. Between the debris, she noticed something: figures, emerging shadows, shifting in and out of her line of sight, enough to twist her insides with dread. Go back, she heard the voice again, but this time, it was different. It held an edge of urgency, almost pleading. Just as she stepped closer, she saw it, a figure hunched over an old register, shrouded in dust. Its hair hung like weeds, masking its face. A desperate realization crashed over her. She recognized the silhouette. Lily? She gasped, her breath hitching. But before she could call out again, the figure turned abruptly, its head snapping around with a speed so unnatural. Emily stumbled back, colliding with the doorway. The flickering light illuminated the figure, a hollow-eyed ghoul that was not her daughter. It was something twisted and grotesque, emanating a palpable darkness that clawed at Emily's sanity. You shouldn't have come here, it rasped, its voice a hollow echo, reverberating in her mind. The room filled with icy air, every breath turning into visible vapor. Emily bolted, her instincts finally priming her to flee. She turned and dashed back to the main area, her heart racing like a runaway train. But as she reached the counter, she skidded to a stop. The man filling his tank stood motionless, the gas pump eerily still. Only his eyes moved, following her every frantic movement with a chilling intensity. You shouldn't be afraid, Emily, he said, his gravelly voice slithering through the silence. You're already part of it. A cacophony of whispers erupted, voices merging, laughing, echoing her name, filling the gas station with madness. She fumbled for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic surged as the man took a step closer, shadows slithering around him like a shroud. As the whispers intensified and the walls seemed to pulse, Emily realized she had unknowingly broken one of the rules. She had trusted someone. And for the first time since arriving, she felt truly trapped. Help me! She screamed, desperation slipping from her lips as the shadows drew nearer. The darkness around her coiled tighter, threatening to swallow her whole as she realized she might be too late. What she didn't know was what waited beyond the door, and that was the last thought slicing through her mind before everything went black. Would she find a way out, or had she just awakened something far worse? Emily's consciousness flickered back to life, a suffocating weight crushing her chest. She gasped, desperate for air, but it felt as if the very shadows were holding her down. The whispers had faded, replaced by a chilling silence, too quiet, too expectant. Panic zipped through her veins, but she couldn't move. She was paralyzed by fear. Slowly, she turned her head, taking in her surroundings. She was no longer at the counter but crumpled on the floor of the main area, the fluorescent lights humming menacingly above her. The gas pump stood silent, the man nowhere in sight. The silence was thick, wrapping around her, suffocating. Lily, she croaked, her voice barely a whisper. Desperation surged within her. The memory of that horrific figure loomed heavy in her mind. Had it really been her daughter? Or had it been a twisted reflection of her worst fears, manifesting in this nightmare? With trembling hands, Emily pushed herself up. She had to move. The door was still locked, but maybe a window could offer an escape. She crawled toward the back room, hesitant, as if the shadows tried to pull her back. Tremors ran through her limbs as she reached the door, the air electric with dread. The door creaked open, revealing the darkness she had fled from. But now, it felt different, less inviting, more like a predator lying in wait. The faint whiffs of decay and mildew assaulted her senses. Musty papers littered the floor, their ink smeared as if drenched in water, but unmistakably from something darker. "Mommy," a whisper echoed, blending into the darkness. Emily froze, the blood running cold in her veins. It had come from deeper within the room, and with it, an insatiable ache for her daughter surged through her. Before she could rationalize her next move, she crawled inside, heart pounding against her ribcage like a frightened bird. The shadows danced around her, forming shapes that taunted her. She turned carefully, eyes fixed on a spot where the faintest glimmer reflected against something metallic. "What are you?" she muttered, feeling a sickly dread wind tighter around her heart. Suddenly, a hand shot out from the wall of darkness, gripping her wrist with an iron grip and dragging her further inside. Emily gasped, fighting with every ounce of her strength. "No! Let go!" She tried to pull free, but the grip only tightened, sharp nails biting into her skin. "Welcome back," a voice hissed, cold and chilling like the touch of death itself. Emily's breath hitched as she was yanked forward, collapsing onto the floor, surrounded by whirls of darkness. It pulled at her, whispering secrets of despair, promising the sweet relief of surrender. She clawed at the ground, gasping for breath in the oppressive darkness. "Lily!" She screamed, desperate, hoping against hope that her daughter would somehow find her here. Just then, she felt a presence behind her, something ancient and knowing. It loomed closer, and as the cold wrapped around her neck, a single word slithered into her mind, echoing hauntingly, "Survive." In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. Instinctively, Emily knew she had a choice. The rules she had broken were not just figments of her imagination, they were warnings, a code to navigate this hellish maze. If she wanted to survive, she needed to confront whatever awaited her. With newfound determination, she twisted free from the grip, breaking the spell. She launched herself towards the shadows, ready to face the truth. The darkness echoed with laughter, but it only fueled her resolve. Just as she felt the edge of the doorframe behind her, she heard a voice call out, sweet and familiar, floating on the wave of darkness. "Mommy!" Her heart wrenched and raced at the sound. Where was it coming from? It was tempting, luring her in, but could she trust it? Emily! She felt like she was at the edge of a precipice, torn between answers and illusions. As she hesitated, an icy breath hissed in her ear, and the shadows shifted dramatically. No longer just lurking, they were rushing at her, eager to claim her. There was no turning back now. The choice was clear. But what lay ahead? The voice called again, and Emily's heart sank. What if it was a trap? And within the darkness, the whispers anticipated her next move. Will you choose to follow, or fight? Emily's breath quickened as the shadows loomed closer, consuming her with each passing moment. The familiar cry of "Mommy" echoed through the blackness, pulling at her heart. Yet, doubt twisted her gut. Was it really Lily, or a cruel mirage crafted by this wretched darkness? Fight, the word bounced around her mind. Fight. But against what? The very environment felt sentient, the walls alive with dreadful whispers, summoning every ounce of strength she could muster. Emily's fingers clawed at the ground, feeling the gritty texture beneath her. It reminded her of the playground, the one she took Lily to, where laughter rang out, and joy was tangible. Not like this place. Not like this suffocating nightmare. "Mommy!" The cry was closer now. Hope flared within her for a moment, but style of the darkness sent chills skittering along her spine. It sounded innocent, but her instincts screamed to run. This was deception. She had learned that lesson too well. With a sudden burst of resolve, Emily spun around, the shadows swirling aggressively, trying to ensnare her. She pushed against the air, the whispers rising to a fever pitch, desperate to drown her sense of purpose. Ignoring them, she fought her way through, desperately seeking the glow of the exit sign she had glimpsed earlier. The moment she turned, a figure stood silhouetted against the doorway. It loomed tall, obscured by the blackness, shrouded in features she couldn't quite make out. But something about the way it stood sent icy fingers of dread spiraling through her veins. "Are you ready?" The voice was painfully familiar, reminiscent of her daughter's laughter mingled with a dark undertone that made her skin crawl. "No!" She shouted defiantly, backing away, but that just seemed to delight the creature that was now stepping forward. The shadows danced around it, revealing pale skin stretched over something grotesque. It grinned, sharp teeth glimmering menacingly in the dim light. "We've been waiting for you, Emily. Waiting to bring you home." The word home twisted in her ears, a mocking reminder of the warmth she had once known. Fear crashed over her like a wave, but it stirred something deep within her, an animal instinct to survive. She had to find Lily, there had to be something she could do. She breathed in, letting scare fuel her, and shouted, "You can't have us. I will fight." Echoes of her voice ricocheted through the room, igniting something in the malignant shadows. But the entity merely laughed, its eyes twinkling ominously. "You do not understand the rules, do you?" Before she could respond, it lunged at her, the speed unsettling, yet she dodged left at the last moment. Slipping between the feet of the creature, she scrambled toward the door, but the shadows erupted, raking her legs with an icy grip. Kneeling on the floor, she clawed at the ground, teeth gritted as the pain sliced through her resolve. "3 rules, Emily," it hissed from the depths. 3 rules to survive this night." Just then, the fluorescent lights flickered, casting an eerie glow over its features. In that moment of revelation, Emily saw something human in its ghastly face, giving her a fleeting sense of hope. What if she could break those rules? Rule 1, it began, voice a sultry, sticky menace. "Never trust your eyes." Emily's gut twisted, and a scream built in her throat. She couldn't grasp what was real anymore. She had to stay strong. "What's Rule 2? She gasped, vision blurring with terror. The entity's smile stretched wider as the darkness coiled closer around her. "Always acknowledge the shadows. They can help or they can hurt." Emily swallowed hard, heart racing. The implications were staggering. If the shadows were sentient, could she turn them against her adversary? Finally it leaned closer, nostrils flaring as it whispered with a breath colder than the void surrounding them, "Never forget, the darkness is always listening." With those chilling words echoing in her mind, the shadows intensified, swirling around her like a tempest. "Wait!" Emily shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. "What if I don't want to follow your rules?" But before she could cry out again, the darkness erupted. A cacophony of whispers filled the air, wrapping around her, dragging her deeper. There were countless shadows now, swirling, pressing against her, strangling the remnants of her resolve. And below it all, the haunting call of her daughter, "Mommy," resonated in the dark, a relentless reminder of the stakes that and the chaos of shadows. A solid choice remained, but as the darkness threatened to consume her whole, Emily was left wondering, could she defy the very rules that governed this night, or would she succumb to the unknown encasing her? The chilling laughter echoed as the grip of darkness tightened, and her next move spiraled into uncertainty. Will she dare to break the rules? Emily's heart raced, pounding wildly against her chest as the shadows whispered her name with a mocking cadence. The weight of the darkness pressed down on her, suffocating her spirit. She fumbled, muscles trembling, searching for something, anything that could help her resist the consuming void. "Fight!" the voice of the creature echoed, twisting her own resolve against her. But as the icy tendrils of shadow tightened around her, something within her snapped. She couldn't let it take her, and she couldn't let it take Lily either. Drawing a shaky breath, Emily forced herself to focus. The advice rang in her ears. Acknowledge the shadows. Perhaps there was a way to use them. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to silence the terror screaming within her. What if the shadows were more than just passive threats? What if they were allies waiting for the right moment? In that breath of clarity, she felt an almost palpable pulse in the room. The shadows flickered, as if alive, responding to her need. She lifted her chin, embracing the fear that coursed through her veins. "I know you can hear me." She called out to the encroaching darkness. The laughter emerged again, its tone dripping with mockery. "They won't help you, little girl. No one can save you from the truth." Emily's eyes shot open. "Truth? You think you can scare me with your lies?" Her voice, emboldened, surprised her. You might have taken the light, but my will is stronger than you know. The shadows pulsed, hesitating just for a heartbeat. She seized the opportunity, channeling her fear into desperate power. Lily needs me. I will break your rules. I will not be your prisoner. In that moment, she felt the shadows respond, swirling with potential. Their whispers became like a roaring river in her ears, carving through the silence of despair. With a fierce intent, she spoke to them again. If you are my allies, reveal yourselves. Protect me from that thing. The air shifted, the shadows thickened around her as clarity surged. She could see them forming shapes, ephemeral and fleeting, as they unfurled around her. Coiling together, the shadows began to push back against the creature, darkening and flickering, fighting to claim their own dominance. Smoldering energy pooled within Emily as she willed the shadows to take her fear and turn it into strength. She reached for the darkest piece of it all, channeling herself through that blackened energy, and felt a connection to something deeper, something ancient. The creature's eyes narrowed, rage mingled with surprise. You think you can control them? You are nothing but a plaything in this game. I am not your plaything. Emily screamed, her voice breaking through the din of shadows. Suddenly, an ear-splitting roar echoed through the room as the shadows collided with the entity's menacing form. Caught off guard, it staggered back, its form flickering just like the thin light desperately fighting to hold its ground. Now, Emily. The shadows urged in a chorus of voices, each whisper like a wind encouraging her forward. Finish what you started. Embrace the darkness. Every ounce of fear evaporated, replaced by determination. Emily took a step toward the creature, feeling invincible. You won't take me or my daughter. You will never. But her words were cut off when a shocking pain surged through her leg, sending her crashing to the ground. A shadowy tendril had latched onto her, snaking around her ankle, dragging her back. No. She howled, clawing at the ground as she fought against the pull. Get off of me. The shadows snapped back, battling each other as if uncertain of their choice. The screams and cries of confusion mixed with the creature's triumphant laughter. You're trapped, Emily. You've already lost. She felt her breath quickening, the shadows faltering. The realization surged within her, terror rising once more. If she was to plead, it would be her final plea. If she could reclaim the darkness, she would also need to make a sacrifice. Lily. She cried, desperation clawing at her throat. I'll come for you. Just wait. The shadows responded, alive and swirling in chaotic currents, but her resolve wavered. With the looming monster inching closer while shadows retracted, she understood something had to give. With everything at stake, she steeled herself. You want me to follow your rules? Watch me break them. And as the demon's unnerving grin returned, a new dread seeped in. How much more would she have to lose? The darkness around her throbbed with fury, and the stakes had never felt higher. In this battle of wills, what price would she pay for victory? As the shadows twisted under her command and the creature encroached, Emily prepared for the impending storm. Would she be able to wrest control from the darkness, or would she face a cost too dire to imagine? The grip of fear squeezed Emily's chest like a vice. The shadows writhed, conflicting energies raging within her as the creature loomed closer, its grotesque form coiling like a serpent ready to strike. The pain in her ankle intensified, the dark tendril dragging her across the cold floor, taunting her with its icy touch. Frantically, she clawed at the ground with her free hand, nails scraping against the rough surface. Let me go. She shouted, her voice echoing through the chamber filled with swirling darkness. For a moment, the shadows hesitated, watching. Emily could feel their cold whispering wash over her. You must be worthy, prove it, they hissed in eerie unison. Worthy? She echoed, determination surging like fire through her veins. What do you want from me? Feed us your fear or be consumed by it, they replied, their tone both chilling and enticing. Panic screamed in her mind. She didn't want to submit to the very thing terrifying her. But if feeding the shadows meant reclaiming control, she had to obey. With great effort, she pushed aside her terror, tapping into that raw, unrefined fear and channeling it like a stream through her body. The creature twitched, recoiling slightly at her sudden defiance. The shadows responded, emboldened now, encircling her like a protective shroud. "Join us," they urged, the rhythm of their whispers pulsing in time with her heartbeat. "In what way?" she pressed, struggling against the growing ache in her leg. "Let your fear become our strength, child. Stand with us." "All right." Emily screamed, the words spilling from her lips like blood from an open wound. She envisioned her worst nightmares, the faces of those she had lost, the times she had failed. Each memory became fuel for a fire, a flame igniting in the darkness. As she embraced this power, she felt the tendril loosening, the shadows wrapping around her like a cloak. Clarity washed over her as she realized, the darkness wasn't just her enemy, it was a desperate plea for connection. It fed off her fear, but it could also grant her strength. The creature, furious at the turn of events, lunged forward, claws outstretched. "You will not escape," it roared, the sound rattling the very walls. But Emily stood her ground, emboldened by the shadows wrapping tighter around her. "Watch me," she replied, exhaling a steady breath, a newfound confidence glowing within her. As if on cue, the shadows surged forward, swirling away from her in a wave of pitch-black energy, rushing toward the monstrous entity. Chaos erupted. The dark expanse billowed like smoke, dousing the creature in a tidal wave of opposition. With a glint of hope, Emily saw an opening, a chance to break free from this nightmare. She stumbled to her feet, pain flaring in her leg, but she wouldn't let it stop her. "Lily needs me," she yelled, and with that, she charged into the fray of shadows. "You will not have her." Fingers of darkness danced around her, guiding her steps as she pressed forward, closing the gap between her and the creature. But just as she reached for it, a blow on her shoulder knocked her sideways. The creature's claw had struck true, and she crumpled against the floor. The silver of her skin reflected the grotesque shadow wrapping around it, a reminder of the battle waging in her mind. Despair surged again, as she felt the balance tipping. "Emily," a soft voice echoed through the chaos, a delicate whisper that shattered her focus. It was Lily, calling for her. "Lily." Emily gasped, the world blurring at the edges. The shadows pulsed with energy in response, leaving Emily breathless, teetering on the edge. If she failed to control them, would she lose Lily forever? The thought burned. Sobbing, she pushed her fear deep into the darkness, demanding it to listen. "Help me. Help me find her." Then everything went still. The shadows came to a halt, the entity paused, confusion etched across its grotesque face. Emily's heart thundered as a flicker of hope ignited within her. But was this a moment of reprieve, or another trap? Time slowed, breath caught in her throat. What was the price of harnessing the darkness? As she reached for it once again, she felt several pairs of eyes on her, calculating her next move. Shadows enclosed, and as that familiar laughter started again, twisting the air, Emily realized she hadn't just awakened the darkness, she had unleashed something even more perilous. Would she be able to gather the strength needed to fight not just for herself but for the very soul of her daughter? Emily's heart raced, the rhythm pounding in her ears like a war drum. The laughter echoed around her, reverberating off the walls in a sickening harmony that gnawed at her resolve. She staggered to her knees, the cold stone floor biting into her skin, but she barely noticed. All that mattered was Lily. "Lily!" She screamed again, her voice raw. The shadows fell silent for just a heartbeat, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. But that brief silence shattered as the creature lunged, its grotesque maw snapping just inches from her face. With a surge of adrenaline, Emily scrambled back, feeling the freedom of her limbs return. The earlier warmth of connection with the shadows flickered but remained within reach. Desperation clawed at her as she extended her hands, summoning that power once more. "I want to let you take her." The darkness responded. It surged with an almost sentient hunger, moving toward the entity with unrelenting force. The creature howled, furiously slashing at the swarming shadows. Emily felt a weight lift from her chest as if she had awoken a beast far more powerful than the one advancing toward her, but doubt crept in. What was she becoming? Could she control this dark energy without losing herself? She strained against the tide, feeling the shadows battle for a clarity she desperately needed. The laughter returned, louder now, wrapping around her mind like thorny vines. You think you can wield fear? It jeered, its voice slicing through the chaos. You don't know the cost. Behind the chaos, she heard Lily's voice again, faint but insistent. Mom! Just hold on. Emily shouted back, pushing against the shadows that choked her confidence. The entity, sensing her hesitation, let loose a guttural roar, the sound so filled with rage and desperation that it quaked through her bones. I will not fail, she whispered to herself, her jaw tight. The shadows swirled around her without her bidding, no longer merely a tool for power, they were part of her. She forced her eyes shut, and in that tormenting moment of darkness, she reached inside. Memories flooded her mind, Lily's laughter, the warmth of her hand, the way the sun danced on grass beneath their feet. These remembrances fueled the fire that raged within, turning her fear into something solid and potent. Lily, I'm coming, she cried, channeling every ounce of love and fear into a single surge of energy. It felt like a dam breaking, a flood of raw emotion that erupted through the shadows, coiling and twisting back toward her. The shadows acted on their own, slamming against the creature with relentless force. It staggered, off balance for the first time, and just as suddenly, Emily's vision cleared. An opening appeared, a dark portal swirling with promise, beckoning on the far wall. The shadows offered her a path, but at what cost? The creature's desperation painted the room in shades of fury, and for one fleeting moment, a flicker of humanity crossed its twisted face. Kill it! It raged, but Emily shook her head. No, she whispered, steeling herself. Suddenly, the laughter shifted. It became guttural, a menacing chorus that echoed through the chamber. You think one soul is worth the sacrifice? She will have a price. Emily hesitated, dread settled heavily in her gut. Was there another way? She felt the shadows stiffen, sensing her indecision. You know the truth, they hissed, their voices weaving into hers. You have the darkness. Use it. She stepped toward the portal, a battle raging between her heart and the cold truth. The last remnants of Lily's voice lit a fire inside her. Mom! Please! Lily! I'm here. As if in response, the shadows surged, swirling violently around her. Emily felt herself becoming untethered, teetering on the edge of something vast and unknowable. What awaited her in the abyss could either save her daughter or lead them both into damnation. With a final, shuddering breath, Emily stepped toward the portal, heart pounding, as a haunting realization dawned. She was not simply a warrior against darkness, she was more. She was its architect, but before she could cross into the swirling chaos, a sharp pain pierced her chest. The dark tendril, slick with malice, coiled tighter. Beware, the shadows warned, we cannot hold him back much longer. Her body shook as she instinctively grasped the darkness. The room trembled, and chaos erupted anew. Could she truly tip the scales, or was she falling into a trap of her own making? As the entity roared again, the noise clawing at her sanity, Emily felt something dark and ancient rising within her. She could yield this power, or it could consume her whole, but then came that whisper, thin and eerie. You will never find her. The world around her began to collapse, spiraling into nothingness. As the shadows reached higher, Emily's last thought spiraled, drowning in panic. Would she face the depths alone, or would she find Lily before the darkness claimed them both? Emily could hardly breathe as the shadows continued to writhe, unfurling like serpents seeking their prey. Beneath the monstrous laughter, the tendril tightened, gnawing at her will as she struggled against its grip. The portal loomed ahead, a swirling vortex filled with an unholy glow, the promise of hope weighed against the peril of despair. "Lily, I'm coming," she shouted, though her voice wavered, and the words felt hollow amidst the chaos. The shadows shuddered, reflecting her fear, as if sensing the precarious balance of power hanging by a thread. Shivers ran down her spine as she realized she was on borrowed time, not just for herself, but for Lily too. With panic clawing at her throat, Emily lunged forward, desperate to reach the portal. But a blinding flash erupted from the entity, spreading darkness deeper into the corners of the chamber. The air thickened, indistinguishable shapes began coiling around her limbs. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a battle for possession of her very soul. "Your light can't save her," the entity snarled, its voice a serpent's hiss. "You're nothing but a shadow, just like me." With a howl of indignation, Emily pushed back against the dark, thrusting her hand into the swirling mass around her. "I am not just a shadow," she screamed defiantly, feeling a surge of power rush through her. The shadows responded, they thickened, coiling, twisting like a cyclone at her command. But she could feel their hunger for dominance, they wanted her to surrender. Then, she heard Lily's voice rising above the din, stronger now, layered with urgency. "Mom! I'm scared." Then the laughter stopped. A profound silence blanketed the chamber, pressing down on her like a weight. The world felt suspended, time lost all meaning. She opened her eyes wider, looking desperately for any sign of Lily, any inkling that her daughter was still with her, fighting against the dark. "Help me, Mommy!" The cry stabbed through Emily's heart. It was an old call, a call she recognized, but it felt distant, muffled by the consuming shadow. "Hold on. I'm coming." The words exploded out of her like bullets, raw and unfiltered. The shadows trembled at her outburst, swirling dangerously. For a brief moment, she caught glimpses of faces flickering within the darkness, lost souls trapped in endless torment. Were they the remnants of those who had come before her? "See what you risk for such a fragile light," the creature hissed, circling around her, its breath icy against her skin. "You think you can save her? You will be lost as they are. Every choice has a cost." The enormity of what was at stake crashed over her like a tidal wave. Yet, there was no turning back, the stakes had never been higher. "No!" Emily shouted, her voice a rally call against despair. She summoned every fierce emotion she had, love, rage, fear, and poured it into her hands. "You will not take my daughter from me." In that moment, the shadows bowed under her intensity, the darkness screaming as it fought against her. The stone floor shook, reverberating with chaos as the two forces clashed, the creature bellowing in a language of pure wrath. But then, through the fury, she heard it again. "Mom, I'm lost." The pain in her chest shot through her entire being. The very reason she fought swirled like eddies in a storm. She had to choose: face the abyss for her daughter's soul, or risk the same fate as those lost forever in darkness. With trembling hands, she reached forward into the portal. She was caught between the fracture of reality. The tug of the shadows grew. She felt herself slip, her fingers brushing against the edge of the portal. Just as she thought she could cross into the safety of light, a scream erupted, piercing through the shadows' roar and her own heartbeat. "Mom! Don't leave me!" The cry sliced through her thoughts. Instinct kicked in, and Emily froze, every nerve igniting in anguish. "Lily!" she screamed, pulling back from the portal. Time resumed its relentless march as reality shuddered around her. The shadows coiled tighter, and the creature lunged once more. Its jaws snapping dangerously close. And then she understood it was no longer just about confronting darkness. It was about making a choice. "Come, Emily." It beckoned with false sweetness, "Step over, find your light and save her." As the temptation twisted like a venomous vine, Emily faced the demon's gaze, grounding herself in the truth. Did she play into its hand, or fight through the layers of despair? To rescue her daughter, she had to dive deeper, ready to embrace whatever darkness awaited her within. With uncertainty but determination burning bright, Emily took a step back. A final battle loomed on the horizon. Yet in the silence that followed, the shadows whispered again, the fear in their voices revealing something heinous yet to unfold. No matter your choice, your fate is sealed. A decision loomed, light or darkness, salvation or sacrifice, but the real question reverberated ominously through her mind: would the price of saving Lily be too high? Emily felt the air crackle with tension as she stood there, trembling between two worlds. The shadows writhed hungrily, a storm of pure darkness circling, taunting her with their deadened whispers. Deep down, she knew the price of her hesitation. Each second stretched painfully as a chill crawled up her spine, gnawing at her resolve. "Mom! I can't see you." Lily's voice echoed in the stillness, and with it came a rush of desperation. Emily's heart thundered against her ribcage. She could feel the panic radiating from Lily, a raw fear that mirrored her own. The world around her swirled, collapsing inward as the shadows pulsated in riotous pulses. With every flicker of the dim crimson light overhead, memories of Lily's laughter danced in the back of her mind: sunny park days, ice cream spills, soft bedtime stories under a patchwork blanket. The love she felt for her daughter surged through her like an electric current. "I'm here, sweetheart. Just hold on," Emily shouted, her voice almost swallowed by the rumbling shadows. The creature lurked, its laughter turning maniacal, dancing between the echoes of dread. "Your love is blind, Emily. Do you see the depths of despair you're about to plunge into?" Its eyes glinted with malicious joy, as if relishing the struggle within her. "One step further, and you'll lose everything you cherish." Each word dripped with poison, and Emily could feel her strength waning. But in that moment of agony, clarity struck. Fear was only powerful if she allowed it to be. She was not just Emily anymore. She was a mother desperate to save her child. The shadows shook as realization surged through her, brightening the dark corners of her mind. She was capable of more than just survival. "Maybe you're right," Emily shouted, voice rising against the cacophony. "Maybe I will lose everything, but you will never own my heart. You can't possess what isn't given." She steadied herself, caught between defiance and fear. Taking a deep breath, she dove deeper within herself. A wave of warmth blossomed in her chest, pushing against the encroaching shadows. "I choose love." As the words fell from her lips, light erupted from her very core, forcing the darkness back. The shadows recoiled as if stung, revealing gaps in their sinister veil. Emily saw flickers of faces, those she would fight for, those she refused to abandon. They gave her strength, sparking a burning defiance that lit up her surroundings. "Lily!" she cried again, reaching outward, beckoning. "Follow my voice." Suddenly, a flicker of light surged from the vortex, shimmering against the oppressive darkness. Emily felt the pull of that light. It was a beacon, a glimpse of hope within the chaos. But just as she reached for it, the creature hissed in rage, lunging toward her. "You're a fool!" it bellowed, venom dripping from its words. "This is where your path ends." The shadows writhed violently, closing the distance, eager to consume her once and for all. Emily pushed through the weight, fighting for her breath, for her daughter. With every ounce of willpower, she dove toward that shimmering light, her heart racing. She felt herself pulled in different directions, shadowy tendrils grasping at her, but she held fast. "Lily!" Emily screamed one last time, her voice shattering through the oppressive noise. "I want to let you go." The moment hung in the air, breathless and suspended. Was the portal hers to take? Or would she be consumed by the shadows that pressed against her? In that electric silence, as she reached out, everything wavered, fracturing the very moment of her choice. It was a gamble, steeped in uncertainty. But as the darkness howled, in its ferocity, Emily felt a burning question bubbling to the surface. What if the true darkness was just beginning to unveil its wickedness? Emily's heart raced in trepidation as she braced for whatever lay ahead. Would facing the shadows yield salvation or obliteration? Emily felt her heart thudding in her chest, a relentless drumbeat of hope and fear. The creature's raging howl echoed around her, a symphony of darkness threatening to drown her. But the flickering light within the portal gleamed like a promise of Lily, waiting for her on the other side. "Come to me," she shouted, her voice tearing through the shadows. She gritted her teeth as tendrils of darkness lunged at her, but she pressed forward, fueled by the image of her daughter's sweet face. Lightning crackled through her veins, illuminating the severing mist of despair. Love surged behind her, protectively wrapping around her as the shadows recoiled, temporarily confused by her fierce determination. Each step she took propelled her closer to the shimmering light, but the entity was relentless. "You think your love can save you?" it screeched, twisting its grotesque body, spitting venomous words meant to instill doubt. "Yes," Emily shouted back, "you have no power over me." In that moment, the enormity of her conviction coursed through her, clarifying her path. She could see the outline of the portal taking shape, the edges pulsating like her own heartbeat. The memory of Lily's laughter rang through the chaos. "Mom!" It was a faint, fragile whisper, but it pierced through the thick, suffocating shadows. The warmth blossoming in Emily's chest transmuted her fear into vibrant energy. "I will protect you," she exclaimed, her voice unwavering and full of defiance. The shadows closed in again, but Emily surged forward, reaching towards the light with both hands outstretched, trembling with urgency. "Don't let go." With that mantra bolstering her resolve, she dove towards the heart of the glowing portal, the shadows writhing violently around her. Yet with every inch, she felt the darkness weakening, instinctively recoiling from her fierce determination to break free. The entity roared in fury, a pitch that rattled her bones. "Your will is foolish," it screamed, but Emily knew better. She felt the shadows losing their grip, twisting back into the corners in fear of the light. It was then she realized the shadows were not invincible, they thrived on fear and despair. In this moment, she was armed with the power of love. With one last surge, she plunged into the light, the sensation washing over her radiantly, dispelling the darkness that wrapped so tightly around her in the gas station. It felt like jumping into a vast ocean of warmth and relief, the swell of light swallowing her whole. But the battle wasn't over. Even in this sacred space, threads of shadow clawed at her ankles, desperate to claim her. "Step back, Emily," whispered a voice, soft and reminiscent. It was Lily. With her heart racing, Emily turned, and there she was, bright and shining in the distance, beckoning her forward. "Mom!" she cried, and Emily could see the innocence of her spirit shining through the gloom. "Lily! I'm here," Emily replied, her soul aching with longing. She dashed towards her daughter, but the shadows clung, trying to draw her back. In a moment of clarity, Emily faced them, lifting her chin defiantly. "You will not take us," she declared, her voice melding with the light. The shadows twisted angrily, but as Emily felt Lily's hand envelop hers, she anchored herself in love. Together, they stepped deeper into the luminous expanse, and a radiant energy exploded around them. The darkness shrieked, retreating as the light surged forward, sweeping them off their feet, lifting them higher and higher. "Remember the rules," Lily urged, and Emily grasped her daughter's hand tighter. "I broke them, I fought for what I love." Joy and determination surged through her, empowering her to push through. "Together," Emily shouted, and it echoed through the depths of the ethereal light, becoming an anthem of their unity. As they reached the heart of the portal, the darkness diminished, folding in on itself until it became nothing. Finally, they were free. Stepping through, Emily took a deep breath, and tears brimmed in her eyes. They had escaped that horrific night. The gas station stood silent behind them, an oppressive shell of what it once was. It was empty now, freed from the darkness that had consumed it, becoming a mere echo of despair. "Mom," Lily whispered, looking up at Emily with wide, innocent eyes. "I'm here. I will always be here," Emily replied, gathering her daughter in a warm embrace, relief flooding her heart. The shadows could try again, but they had conquered the darkness together. With a renewed sense of peace, they stepped away, knowing that each day would be a choice, to confront fear and embrace the light. Emily's heart was lighter now, a vital connection forged stronger than ever in the depths of terror, but even with their victory, a reminder lingered: the darkness isn't always external, sometimes, it lives within. As they walked away, hand in hand, Emily felt the weight lift ever so slightly, firm in her promise to live for both of them. Always, now that you've reached the end, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive story that will take you on another wild ride. Smash that like button now to show your support. Trust me, it fuels the algorithm. And I want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And because we all know friends don't let friends miss out on epic tales, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the shocking finale. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel.